Welcome to episode 67 of Enter the Mind podcast, the most real talk, no nonsense podcast on the empowering of the mind. Today's topic is going to be clearing the air in your inner and outer mind. As always, make sure you watch to the end so that you hear the power question of the day. Kyra, how's it going this week?
It's going well. I got this new jacket at Polo. I was shopping for Black Friday and oh my God, I couldn't take my eyes off this jacket. So I'm very, very happy. Here it is, y'all. Here it is, y'all.
Let's see it. Let's see it. Looking sharp.
Isn't it great? So yeah, it's going good. How's it going on your end?
Awesome. On my end, it's great. I'm wrapping up a trip to Chicago. So I'm headed back to California today. And I wrote a tweet this morning, something along the lines of, at the end of any journey, because this trip was a journey, right? So it was like a 1.5 week trip. At the end of any journey, that's your time to reflect on just how much you were capable of doing, because that's the moment of safety where you look back and you're like, whoa, like I could have done double what I did. But when you're in the moment of the journey, you're like, oh, should I do more? What if this happens? And you get into the mental doubt and everything. You might say mental cloudiness, right? And I think this kind of is a segue into your topic of the day. I'm really excited because just from the little that you told me before we started recording about how we can clear the mind of that cloudiness, or maybe model after people who have that clarity and spaciousness around them. But before I put too many words to it, why don't you take it away and introduce this topic and what made you think of it?
Okay. First of all, I love that. I love that you're going to be reflecting on your journey and seeing how much that you actually did get done in that time. I love that. And as for today's topic, I was speaking to a friend earlier this morning, and I was kind of in like a little mood because I'm here at my mom's and I miss my privacy and I miss my space. So I had called him, and as usual, he had told me that I created the problem myself and to stop whining. And I said, I love you, because you always give me the straightest answer. And when we got on FaceTime, he's an artist. So he was working in his big warehouse, and the air around him was so open and clear. And it had such good, open, just grounded, open, good vibes. And lately I've been shifting perspectives / shifting dimensions of living. And there's a dimension of living where it's almost like the quantum realm. It's almost like you're too close to the quantum realm, or you're too involved with the foggy side of the quantum realm. And it's like, imagine yourself in a room like you are right now, and then imagine all these unseen little things just sort of attaching to you and blocking your vision from being able to be in this open space, present moment. And that's how I think of it. And, when you're watching a movie and there's just like this scene where like everything is so open and clear, the girl wakes up in the morning, it's the beginning of the movie, she stretches her arms, she looks around, and the air around her is so clear. And I realized that I can tap into that. And over the past maybe month or so, it's been coming in for me, tapping into that open air energy that I used to have and that has somehow found its way away from me. And I want it to come back. So this is pretty much the introduction to today's topic. Robert, what are you thinking?
Well, yeah, I don't even know what to say, because everything that you said is like, I'm like, yes, 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 yes. I'm like, check.
Check.
but it's true. Like the air is different. It's a great metaphor because what this gets at, I think what we've been getting at for all of these episodes of this podcast is the invisible phenomena of the mind. You know, it's because you can't really see it. It's like you can't see those little objects that are clouding your air. You can't see it, but you can feel it. You can really feel it.
Yes, I completely agree with that. So for our listeners so far, are you clicking with this as like, you know, is this making sense to you? Or are you kind of like, whoa, you know, I'll give another example. The other day, actually yesterday, I was sitting in my room and I was alone. Nobody was home and I was soaking it up, listening to my music, having a great time, shouting like a banshee, you know, normal things that normal people do when they're alone. And I took a look down to this little book that I got my sister for Christmas. And for some reason, it was grateful. Like my book was grateful. And I looked down at it and it was almost like my entire world in that moment completely changed. And it switched to a movie scene where the girl is grateful and she has all of these beautiful things. Even the pixelization that I was projecting onto my bed even changed. And it changed to wealth. It changed to abundance. And I felt that open air. There was no quantum field around me clinging onto me and making my day seem dreary, dark, and enclosed. And I guess that's what I want this episode to be about. I want it to be about the openness of life and the closed part of life. And I guess maybe we can begin to dissect, what does it mean to be closed and have that quantum field closing in around you, so heavy, hard to breathe, musty, you know, maybe not the cleanest air, you know, as opposed to the quantum field just finally dispersing away from you, and you have this room inside of your body and inside of your mind to actually receive life.
Yeah, this is so great. It's very much resonating with what I've been thinking about lately, this week, this whole trip. You know, because the first few days here were kind of jolting in a way, or destabilizing, because all of a sudden I'm interacting with these different people that I'm not used to interacting with. And, you know, not to mention cultural differences between Midwest versus West Coast. But all of a sudden I'll be starting a conversation with somebody and the first thing I hear is, oh, hey, did you hear about all those shootings we've been having here in Chicago? Did you hear about all the carjackings and this and that? And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. And it's like this, I'm like, how can you live like this? Like you're focusing on these negatives that are out of your control, really. It's just, yeah, I mean, if you listen to the news, it's kind of similar, but I mean, to me, I love that metaphor you give of the objects that are in your space, like physically. I forgot if you said quantum space or quantum realm or whatever, but it's maybe you can expand on that, because that's really a good way of putting it. It almost feels like there's these objects here that I need to kind of almost clear in order for me to kind of step forward in life and take productive action steps towards living and towards what I want to do. And they're just obstacles. They're just like in the way, and they don't really deserve our attention. But I think a lot of people do give their attention to these objects. What do you think?
Now, as you were speaking, I formulated a little something from your energy and your alignment in the words. So the quantum field of energy that you are in, right? So another thing that my friend said to me this morning was, you millennials should call yourselves the sad people generation who create problems in their head and then wonder why they get there only to bring them around, etc. You know, so it got me thinking about that quantum field, that quantum realm, that quantum space of energy that is honing in on you. And I think it's because our minds are so programmed to have problems. Like, it's so deep in our subconscious. It's literally in the book, Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow, that he literally talks about on the news. It's called like the negative heuristic or something like that. Our brains are drawn to the negative. So over this past month, what has been happening to me is I've been stepping into this clear energy, this open space, this open fucking beautiful world of possibilities. And when I'm doing that, you see, I have been programmed a specific way for 24 years. 24 fucking years, right? That's day by day by day by day by day collecting specific energy inside of my molecules. And for you as well, you know, everybody, our molecules have been being programmed throughout our whole lives. So from the past month and a half, maybe 2 months that I've been practicing this, it's the most beautiful energy in the world. But what I've noticed has been happening to me is it's almost like I'm up so high and I have all of these amazing things, and then I crash to the fucking bottom. And I'm like, what the fuck, right? Because I was doing so good. And it's like, can I keep this energy? Can I keep this open, beautiful, possibility, full of possibilities world in front of me? I really don't want to go back to this quantum fucking realm where everything is sticking on me and I'm maybe thinking in ungratefulness and I'm maybe looking at my perspective of things isn't too well or too bright. I don't want to go back to that place, right? But my point that I'm trying to make here is we've been programmed for 24 years to think a specific way. So to introduce you to this new topic or focus or awareness of coming into that open, really clear world, it's going to take some time. And in order for you to get there, to get to this space of openness and just beauty, you're going to have to practice it every single fucking day. And what is going to happen when you're practicing it every single fucking day is you are going to crash. You're going to crash hard because your energy and your molecules are now being used for something different than they have been for the past 24 years or the past however old you are. And the trick is to just keep on mass overriding that old programming. And one day your body, your molecules will get used to living in this open space and it will become second nature to you. And you won't be clouded by all that quantum realm of maybe ungratefulness or like lack of wealthy perspective or lack of possibility perspective. So yeah, what are you thinking?
Yeah, let's talk more about kind of how to regularly and at will enter this zone or area of clear thinking or clear-mindedness or spacious what would you call it? Spacious mental territory. Did you have a thought just now?
Funny thing is I guess I would call this spacious mentality reality, but at the same time, reality almost sounds, reality is beautiful. And so is that mental clear space, but it's almost like reality doesn't fit what I'm trying to explain here. And I guess a good way to step into this energy is to seriously, the way that I stepped into it was I said, I'm so sick and fucking tired of living this way. I'm so sick and fucking tired of it. Like I literally, like, it's not even like I had to force that to come out. Like one day it was literally like, this is so fucking boring. I hate changing my molecules into my new perspective of life because it's uncomfortable. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of focus. It takes a lot of elongated concentration for me to mass override my cells. But what helps me get into that immense focus, etc., is I say, fuck it. I say, fuck it. My life fucking is not how I want it to be right now. This is not how I want my life to be. I want more. And I'm just going to muster up everything I have, and I'm going to imagine something that I really, really, really want. And usually when that happens, it gives me the energy to step into that, and I can focus on it for maybe, sometimes it's 10 minutes. Sometimes the other day it was fucking 6 hours that I was in this energy, and I have never been able to do that. So I think it's just all about saying, fuck it, realizing that what you're doing is not fucking getting you to where you want to go, and just saying, fuck it, and just saying, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to imagine something I want, and I'm going to see where it goes, because what the fuck else have you got to do? Your life isn't where you want it to be, So did that clear up anything on coming to that space of openness?
Yeah, because the word reality, I know you said it's not exactly what you're going for, but I think there's some reason why that word would come up in this conversation. And that reason is that all of these little obstacles or contractions or energy contractions or whatever we want to call them, these things in a way are illusions. It's an illusion of how much we think that they're going to stop us. And this morning, as I was doing my morning jog, I had a thought, which was, I thought, well, there's so many illusions that we're constantly surrounded by that we think it's going to be an obstacle for us. But they're really, it's like, how is this an obstacle? Like, if you just ask yourself, like, wait a second, how is this going to stop me? Like, how is this a problem for me? And you realize that they're only a problem when you have the problem glasses on, the mindset, right? And you're kind of viewing everything as a problem. But if you just take those glasses off and you look at things with your own true eyes, you realize that, wait a second, these things are not going to hold me back from doing XYZ that I'm seeking to do or that my soul wants to do today. Like, it's a complete and utter illusion. Any thoughts?
I like that a lot, especially because when you say thinking, when you say you're thinking things are a problem, or you're thinking these things aren't going to stop me, thinking then changes to an action, which means that it changes to something that you have control over. So when you're saying, I'm thinking this is going to stop me, you are literally saying out loud exactly what you are doing. So if I'm thinking, it's like, if I'm thinking this is, not a good time for me, then you know what? I'm thinking that my action is, I'm thinking this is not going to be a good time for me. So if you just change your action of thought to, I think I can, then it kind of opens up a new way for you to see the perspective on life. I think when you change thinking to something that you can act out instead of something that's unseen. Feel me?
Oh yeah. I think that conversion of thought into action is such a key habit. To me, that's like, if we're going to train our minds and condition ourselves every day, that is one thing that we need to do every single day, is practice making that shift from thinking to taking action. And that itself will solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, I think that there's a very big difference in thinking and taking the action to think. I think that, because there are like a billion thoughts that go on, inside our mind on a daily basis. So we're always just thinking. It's not really an action that we're doing. It's more of something that is unseen. It's more of something that's going on behind the scenes. That's not us taking that action. But in our waking lives, as opposed to the subconscious, which is more of the asleep life, we begin to take action to think in a specific way that can help us move forward in life. And that's the act of taking the action to think.
I just had a huge image just come up in my mind, which was like when we go throughout our day, I think we almost have to choose, or we can choose what to deal with, what issues to deal with, or what issues to tackle. And it's almost kind of like you step into some sort of like wrestling ring, and there's like 30 different characters or wrestlers that want to fight you. And you could maybe like for 28 of those 30, if you fight them and win, like you don't get anything, like you get nothing. But if there's 2 of them that if you fight them, you actually get a trophy. So it would actually be smart to fight the 2 and to put those 2 down and get your trophies and leave. But the other 28 are like, they're almost like illusory problems. Like they're almost like fake problems or fake obstacles that other people love to fight, but they just go nowhere in life because every single day they fight these wrestlers or opponents that like there's no payoff to winning. Like you get nothing from winning them.
I love that. I love that so fucking much. My eyes are rolling back into my head. So seriously, because I like the way that you connected the 28 with being illusory, right? So it's almost like you go to fight, these 28 battles, right? These 28 wrestlers that are waiting to just grab their hands on you. So you're fighting, you're fighting them off, only to see that I have 2 images in my mind. Either A, only to see that as you're fighting them, you're actually not making contact with them. They're literally ghosts. Like they're literally like you go to punch them and your hand goes through them, So you're trying to punch him, you're trying to get him, but you can't because he's not actually there. It's an illusory battle. So that's one perspective. And then another one is that, you fight him and like you actually can touch him, right? So you're fighting him. And finally you beat him. But at the very end of the match, when you beat him, there's like a congratulatory thing there. And it's like, congratulations. This battle literally wasn't real at all. It was completely false and it didn't actually exist. And you're like, well, what the fuck, dude? I just spent all of my time fighting this wrestler who wanted to fight my ass, and I beat his ass, and it turns out he wasn't actually real. Like, are you kidding me? So I think that a great exercise to invite our listeners to do would be to write out all of the wrestlers that are waiting to fight you and decipher which ones are real and which ones are straight up illusory. Like they're not there, they're not actually real. So I think that would be something good in order for you to step into that open air space, because once you define the things that are illusory, chances are they're going to melt away, so you can focus on the ones that are real, and it's going to make your life a lot more open and a lot more easy.
Yeah. Oh man, this is so good. All of these insights that we're producing today. And I thank you for bringing this topic and all of the beautiful imagery that you provided today. I think so. These will be my last comments for the day. Looking at the time, and I don't know if you've ever been to like a self-help seminar or or a money seminar where maybe a member of the audience, let's say they're teaching like millionaire lifestyle strategies or something like that, business strategies. And somebody from the audience raises their hand and they say, well, I'd like to ask sort of, how do you deal with like when your friends or your family members or whatever, they just say, they criticize you for trying to make money or some sort of question like that, right? And the speaker responds by saying, how do I deal with that? I don't deal with that. And it really shows how we do pick these fake fights with, that are the 28 wrestlers that like, there's no payoff to beating them. And yet, it's like somebody comes up to us, pokes us, and we're like, hey, why are you poking me? Come on, what do you want? Right. And we get into this struggle that takes all of our energy. But the kicker is it's not even the person that we're fighting. We're actually fighting a pendulum, which is a giant energy sucking, what do you call it? Entity almost, which is the entity of criticism and doubt and all of that, right? That person is just a manifestation of a larger pendulum that we then engage in that fight with. And so that, to me, that's a big, like, that's a red flag. When I hear somebody, or let's say a coaching student of mine, right, asks me, well, let me just ask you, how do you deal with blah, 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 blah? That's like the red flag of like, we need to start diving deeper, because whenever you start that question of how do you deal with blah, 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 that question presupposes that the blah, blah, blah is a problem. It presupposes from the get-go that this is an obstacle for me. This is going to be a problem. But what if it wasn't a problem? What if it was an illusion that it's a problem? And what if this thing is there all along, but it doesn't even belong in your space and it doesn't deserve your attention? And what if you could take massive action regardless of this thing? And that if you just ignored it and stayed in your lane, you would be cruising at 100 miles an hour in the right direction. So with that, I'll pass it to you.
That was really, really great. Thank you for that. I really, really, really like that. And I hope that it clicked for our listeners as well, as it did for me, because that super clicked. And I wanted to bring up one more thing about how our minds are programmed to look for problems. And when my friend this morning, when he said, you're looking for these problems just so you can say that you have problems. And it reminded me of the fact that we are so fucking addicted to problems. Like, leave them alone. Like, they're not a fucking problem. Like, just leave it the fuck alone. And I feel like it's like when our lives are going too good, it's almost like we're like, okay, well, now I need to bring myself down and create new problems so I can go through this cycle of like problem, etc. And this is a much deeper topic that we could dive into, but I just feel like it's just we just really need to just stop focusing on all the bullshit. We really need to reprogram ourselves and learn to focus on the beautiful possibilities that are out there in the world. Yeah, so I guess that is my final thoughts. And I did mention the exercise for the wrestlers who want to fight you, but do you have a power question in mind, Robert?
Let's see, a good power question would be, I feel like I've used this one before, but like, I don't know, maybe I did, maybe I didn't. This question of, is this really a problem? Or maybe how is this not a problem? Or you kind of have this thing that you think is a problem, like what if I actually didn't address this? What would happen? I think, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. What if I didn't address this? So anytime you're kind of like mulling over this issue or whatever. It's like, what if I just took action on these kind of action items over here? And what if I actually didn't deal with this? What would happen? And I think the answer to that will tell you if this is one of the 28 wrestlers, or if it's one of the two, where actually there are times where you do need to tackle an issue in your life and you need to get that taken care of, and it will pay huge dividends, right? But sometimes it's hard to spot which ones those are.
I really like that. It's poking some holes in my stored energy bubbles. I like it. Great question.
Right on. Anything else before we close out today?
No, head over to Soul Designed Future on Instagram if you want to reprogram your mind for wealth in all areas with me. Definitely.
Yeah, you post a lot. And so people are really missing out if they're not on your Instagram. So Soul Designed Future, right?
Yes.
Very good. Awesome. And mine is at Existence First, all one word, lowercase. So check us out there. As always, thank you so much for watching. If this was helpful, then show your love by hitting the like button and sharing this with family and friends. And, talk it up. And that way this can spread, and we'll be back even stronger with episode 68 next week. So thank you for watching. We'll see you soon.